Hey you, out there on the internet, it's Officer Dan and the Gktech crew with another install vid. This time we're taking a break from the Z chassis stuff and getting back to our S&R chassis roots, even if it's just boring maintenance stuff. And by boring maintenance stuff, I mean these sweet ass ball joints we make in-house to replace your tired, haggard 30-plus-year-old units. And FYI, these fit the S14, S15, R32, R33, and R34, and S13/Silvia/180SX. Because knowledge bomb, there is a difference between the two. Now, contrary to what your cousin Larry said, who just jackhammers the knuckle onto whatever ball joints so happen to be present, we will inform you thusly. The difference between the two is subtle, like adding a splash of Chipotle Tabasco into your favorite morning cereal. It's that little change-up that makes all the difference in the world, and that being the taper of the actual shanks themselves. Now let's talk conversions. Again, there are those of you that just yeet whatever onto whatever, but those folks don't value their lives and or the lives of those people around them. So don't be that guy. Yes, you can install S14 ball joints into your S13 lower control arms. Just make sure you have the correct knuckle set up to suit. All of the lower ball joint outer diameters are the same, so any ball joint can go into any LCA. The main thing is getting the correct ball joint for whatever knuckles you have that matches that taper. Now you know, and knowing is 3/16 of the battle. Now this is a rather simple unboxing, but we do this every video, so here we go. First and foremost, you get the Yeetmaster 4K, and or the circlip that keeps the BJ down after being pressed in and acts as a fail-safe. Next in our ultra-comprehensive, complicated list of parts is the split pin. So pause the vid if notes are needed and behold the split pin. Yet another fail-safe to keep your front end together. You may be noticing a pattern here. Next will be the ball joint itself, wearing the sexiest raincoat you've ever witnessed and a locking top nut cap. What a stylish gentleman. Knowledge bomb number 2 incoming. The tiny raincoat is held to the ball joint via garter spring, and like a garter belt, it slips on up and over to hold important things in place. Bet you didn't know what that was called, did ya? I sure didn't. Stay tuned for the next episode where I explain in great detail license plate holders. Anyway, let's move on to installing the damn things already, shall we? Get your car jacked up on Mountain Dew and loosen and remove the front tension rod nuts, washers, and bolts, and swing that sucker down, letting it chill to the max since it's been so tense lately. Now remove the split pin from the ball joint and then the ball joint nut itself from said BJ. Now head inwards and remove the inner LCA bolt and nut. Now there are a few ways this can go down. You can be one of the super lucky 1 in a million dudes who give it a tiny little love tap and it comes out all hunky-dory. Or you can come down off your cloud like the rest of us 99%ers and beat the ever-living shit out of your knuckle until it looks like it went 26 rounds with Ali, leaving it exhausted, bleeding, and morally bankrupt. You can see bits of Zach's soul left on the knuckle as the ball joint finally drops. Or you can use a torch to heat it up and or burn the car to the ground in frustration. Completely up to you. Once the arm is out, get it on the bench and you'll notice a nasty split dust boot, which if you live under communist rule may not pass inspections, making your $40,000 box unregisterable. So maybe that's why you bought these in the first place. Well, good for you. The next step is to remove the Yeetmaster 4K, aka that spring clip from the old BJ. Speaking of tools, you can use a press like a real mechanic, or starting with a big ass clamp, some round buckets, and a flat thing, we chose to press straight off the thread as we are replacing these anyway, so who cares? Get a cup, top and bottom, line the clamp up, and then use something to keep it from wobbling around, apply some Torx to the clamp, popping the BJ out of its home for the last 30 years. Now this won't require much, by the way. Now go ahead and spray for COVID, give it a quick sandy sand and a wipe down, and it's good to receive its new 30-year tenant. Grab your BJ of choice, whether you were replacing the Heim or converting to another knuck, and remove the rubber boot as to keep it from ripping during install. Head back to the arm, flip it the other way, and clamp it with something. Now grab that big ass clamp and your assortment of tools and get everything aligned and go ahead and press it in to get it to seat all the way down flush into the LCA. Now don't be a dolt and install these from the thread somehow. You wouldn't want to risk damaging these hot new boys, would you? The big flat area here is okay to press. Now you'll know if the ball joint is pressed all the way in if you can successfully install the Yeetmaster 4K. Spread the wings on it and place it home in its Yeet corral. Now reinstall the stylish raincoat and raincoat garter spring and give it the old fold once over. Again, making sure everything was pressed in correctly and showing it off to the maybe one person who actually cares. If everything is looking like Zach's demo here, head back to the car and let's install it. Grab the nut and the bolt for the inner LCA and bolt that back in, just leave it finger tight for now. Then head to knuck side and install the ball joint to the knuckle and wind the lock nut on. Tightening it all the way down and you guessed it, torquing it down to the specs shown right here. Pop the split pin on through and bend the ears for safety. Now head backside towards the inner LCA bolt and torque down to these specs as well. Now casually swing the now tensionless rod up and over the LCA and bolt that back down with the nuts washers and other assorted objects. Once tight, torque down to the specs shown conveniently on the screen once again. Now bask in the glory that is a part no one will care you installed. You can pat yourself on the back for a job well done and to actually having a safe to drive 90s box. Speaking of 90s boxes, 3 of these dudes have one doing cool stuff in this clip, one does not, and he is indeed a weirdo. Now this is an important install to keep your car in one piece on the highway. If you can't install these, please for the love of God and all that is holy have a pro do it and or reach out with any questions you may have. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, Joshy Josh, and the best BJ picker on the planet, Zach, with another Gktech How To. Peace.